Okay, so hello Hannes, greetings from Metal Wani. We're really glad to have you on the show. How are you doing?
Thanks for having me, first of all. I mean, it's really awesome. Well, I'm fine, man. It's my first time in India, and you can guess that I'm really excited to play Bangalore Open Air tonight with Nader Sadek. And yeah, it's been we've had an amazing time so far. Everybody treated us very well. The food is amazing, and everything couldn't be better.
Right. So just recently you started a crowdfunding campaign, and within like just a couple of days you were already at like 40-50%. Pretty overwhelming. So soon you release your second album, The Crypts of Sleep. So
yes,
are you excited?
I'm very excited about it. It's to me, you know that I also have another band called Alkaloid, and when I write, I just start writing music, and I never know which direction it actually might go into. If it's a more heavier metal song or more techy, or if it's more open and acoustic stuff. And finally, I collected some songs that were, I would say, darker, technical death metal, if you will, if you want to put it in one thing. And it's probably closest to what I've been writing for Obscura, for Omnidium, for instance, and that kind of sound.
I noticed a lot of similarities.
Yeah.
In fact.
It's just
you have Hail Satan, which I feel is, it sounds a lot like Ocean Gate.
Yeah, it does.
And it sounds like Cthulhu as well. So
it does. It's kind
like
of
you wrote, I think, right?
this thing behind that is actually I'm a huge Morbid Angel fan, and I never would actually go there and take somebody else's ingredients, how you phrase music and how you do it. Some things just happen naturally, and I was very much influenced by songs like Morbid Angel songs like Summoning Redemption and Where the Slime Live and God of Emptiness, and the slower, heavier tunes, because they were some of the best bands to write that kind of stuff, the heavier, slower stuff. But they also had this fast side to it, and the fast technical side to it, and I always thought that's perfect, and somehow it phrased its way into my own musical DNA, if you will. So sometimes I just sit down with my guitar and riffs like that appear, and I think like, okay, I saved this riff, and then it eventually turns into a song. So yeah, there are definitely similarities that always keep permutating, but they're always there. And then I would say the title track, The Crypts of Sleep, is probably a little bit similar to a song like Velocity. So these are songs that and Velocity is different. I didn't even write most of the riffs for Velocity, but I arranged all the song, like the complete song, and put it together. So, and in that sense, I had riffs that go in a similar vibe, but slightly darker and a little heavier. So I thought like, this is perfect, but I didn't want to release it as Alkaloid material because it's just me writing music. And on that album, so it's almost 60 minutes of music. So that's too much to put on a band like Alkaloid, where we also have Christian Münzner and Danny and Flo, who can also write great stuff. And
Velocity was the first time you worked with Floyd, right?
Yeah, actually yes. Yeah, he played the solo on it, and that was the first time we actually collaborated on a recording. I was a big fan of his band Non-Nuclear, and Linus, our bass player, he plays on Non-Nuclear as well. Unfortunately, they're not so active anymore, but like their album Metatheosis, which has been recorded in 2008 already, so I was lucky enough, it was released 1 or 2 years ago. It took a long time until they could find a distribution and stuff like that, so I was lucky to hear it early, and it had a huge impact actually on the album Omnidium, because it sounds like nothing else. It's a very unique way of sound, very unique way of writing. The way Morian writes actual riffs and music, he's a classical composer. That influenced me a lot, and so that's why I wanted to work with him. And on The Crypts of Sleep, actually, the story is even more crazy, because I said like, hey, you want to do vocals? He said, yeah, sure, but I don't have time to prepare it. I said, no problem.
Okay.
I know you're capable, we'll work it out. So he came into my studio, and he didn't know a single song, a single riff, a single line, never heard it. And I played a song instrumentally for him and said like, hey, this is the first verse. You want to sing this? these are the accents. And he's like, okay.
And you got it done.
First take, done. Next.
Amazing.
Verse. First take, done. And stuff like that. So we were like 3 days in the studio. You just learned it on the fly and said like, hey, how you wanna phrase the accents? More like up or more down? You wanna have a black metal voice? You wanna have a death metal voice? You wanna have cleans? Well, what do you have? It's like, okay, I can choose. Then do it like this, and he did it, and first take, done. And so that's the level of musicianship we're dealing here. So that was pretty amazing, and I have to say every musician who participated on the album was like really delivering.
Yeah, so tell us something about Christian's contribution. He has this amazing solo in the song Ocean Born. I was blown away by that.
Yeah.
So what
well, I don't know. He's a good lead guitar player. So what can I say? I've been making music with Chris since 2003. 4 was the first recording on Necrophagist's Epitaph. And what can I say? He's also a person you can just rely on if you need something of quality. And the fun part was on my first solo album, The Radial Covenant, I did the guitars myself.
Okay.
But it was very painful to record that because I'm not technically a guitar player and I can play some of my riffs, but it was difficult for me to actually record that, and it took a very long time until I could actually play it, and I had to use a lot of editing like in the studio and puzzle it together because I'm not no guitarist, so I'm not ashamed of saying I didn't play that one take from I just puzzled it together the way I wanted to hear it. I felt like, oh, I'm never gonna do this again. And I told Danny I'm never gonna do this again. He said, like, you know what? I want to play rhythm guitars.
He did all the guitars.
He did all the rhythm guitars and some of the solos too.
Okay.
And it sounds amazing. And I mean, he's much better at guitar than I ever will be. So, and he's also the kind of guy. He just played through the songs. He learns a whole complete song, played through it, and that's done. And it sounds like better than I would edit it every note. So, so it didn't make sense for me to record it play it myself. So he recorded it at home at his studio and sent it over, and I reamped the eye tracks and done.
Yes, Christian was actually.
And then Chris, he was like, "Oh, Danny's playing your guitar." Why didn't he ask me? I was like, "Well, no problem. If you wanna play solos, go ahead." I said, "Yeah, I would like to do that." So, it's pretty cool. So.
I remember Chris talking about how he met Danny. I mean, he wanted Danny to play for Spawn of Possession, right? And he learned the songs in one go.
Yeah, he learned the whole set in like 10 days or something. Okay. And I mean, we're talking about Spawn of Possession, which nothing repeats. Like no fucking single riff repeats ever. Sometimes, but not really. So. And I don't know, there's a video of Danny playing blindfolded and he's still not making any mistake. There's another story about Danny. Like when we were on tour with Obscura, Steffen couldn't do one sound check with us because he had other stuff to do. Danny said, I can sound check for you. And the morning of the day, the same day, in the morning he got up, took our tab book, alright, and he played 2 songs, perfect. Like nothing.
So let's take it back to the Epitaph era. So that was 2004 and we are here now. It's been over 12 years. So in Epitaph, I think the drums were already written before you got a chance to play them. So, and we are here now in 2016. How has your drumming evolved?
I come from a background which is more into the classical rock and fusion playing.
Okay.
I started out with drummers that I liked and music that I liked. For me, the drummers were always connected to the actual songs. Okay. I'd rarely go and check out a fusion guy or check out a drum video just because somebody playing drums like crazy. I thought I need a song for that. So it started with Led Zeppelin, Deep Purple, and Iron Maiden. And that kind of stuff, but I grew up with 60s music, very much 60s music, all of that, like Ginger Baker and these kind of guys, and Keith Moon and music like that. Anyways, and it started evolving into a heavier progressive. It was something new. It was very technical, it was very, very demanding for me. It was like, I was reading through the notation, it was like, I don't know if I can play that. I need 5 months to actually rehearse that. And so I was very interested in doing the material. At that age, I was 20 when I joined the band. I didn't care if I wrote it or not. It was another band and somebody else who was on a better writing level than me and had his own thing going and his own style. And I was like, I have to appreciate that and not say, hey, I want to put myself into music, because obviously he has a vision of where the music goes. So I didn't question that. I was happy to be there and play it. But once you've mastered something and you've recorded the album, then you eventually have done a lot of touring. And we did 2 US tours, 2 European tours, lots of festivals and all of that. And it's the same songs note by note all the time. For a drummer of me, it's pretty boring. At one time, I mastered it. What's next? And there was nothing coming, or I didn't feel right to be there, because I thought like, hey, maybe they need somebody who has no ambition to do his own thing, and who's more of a team player than I am. I mean, I am a team player, but I say like I wanted to do music that's more open, where there's more things than just these notations, just the same 8 songs we were playing. It was pretty boring to me. So I left and didn't know what's coming next, and then I met Steffen, and he had no band, and I said like, when I get in the band, I'm pretty sure we can make a good lineup. And we got Chris and Jeroen in the band, so and made Cosmogenesis, and this was pretty much the opposite approach. The music might be a little similar, but the approach of me recording drums was I left everything open for the studio. There was just a few parts which I actually worked out, and the rest I thought like, I know the structure. I structured a lot of the album myself, and I wrote a lot of stuff on it. I know it.
It's like the anti-cosmic overload, right? You said you've written just a few parts and improvised most of it.
Exactly.
That's
Pretty much. I just went playing with the riffs. I did old school. Do 3 takes, take the best take. That's it. On Omnivium, I definitely worked out the songs more. I recorded them a couple of times before because the material is way more complex and faster and more challenging. And I worked it out and recorded it, and then I went to the studio and did everything in 1 take. So, but I was really prepared and on the point prepared, so that's the difference. And for Omnivium, to me, it was like, because on Cosmogenesis I play a lot of fills and I do many things. But then I thought like, hey, the music is so overloaded. Maybe I should just not play that fill and not do this. And what I was working on most after Necrophagist was my timing skills and my own style, my own playing style, and my own timing sense of micro time, if you will. This might sound more academic, but in the end, at Necrophagist is always like computerized. It should always sound like a drum machine, like totally on the grid, if you will. Like if you have a recording program like Pro Tools, it had to be played exactly in the middle of every note. You know what I mean? And then I started experimenting with the swing, like the like instead of you know what I mean when I'm saying play a little groovier and a little more with human feel, because especially these days, like 2016 now, I hear some very talented bands, but it's all quantized and everything is put into place and it all sounds the same. It's the same superior drummers, drum sample sounds, and to me it's very boring. I rather want something that is not flawless, that has a lot of flaws and tempo changes and
more human-like,
because that's interesting, because that makes your style. And I had this goal. I wanted to be able to go through a song and do the best for the song with the technique I have. I wasn't rehearsing technique anymore. I wasn't, because I thought I was rehearsing speed and technique enough and all of that. So I just want to use it more in a musical way, and that's where my drumming evolved into. Actually trying to think more in structures than thinking in patterns. I think and more from the songwriter's perspective, even more. I have to say, lately, last year I joined Eternal for Life, and that's of course another level of speed and stamina. So I had to really practice again for that, and to be able to play the songs. And it's also a completely different style, I think.
Okay.
It feels very different to play, for instance, Jade's or Derek Roddy's drum lines.
You're doing that for Nader Sadek also, right? Playing some of Derek Roddy's drum lines?
Yeah, no, that's different. I play actually some of the drum lines of Flo Monnier from Crypts of Sleep, because he was on the recordings.
Okay.
Derek and me have basically the same job, like playing the songs Flo did.
Okay.
So and there will, I think that with Nader there will be some releases with Derek Roddy on it, where he plays new songs. So he's playing his own stuff, but I haven't played any of those songs. So, but in Hate Eternal, that's the thing. I have to adapt to somebody else's style already again, and that's for me something I'm really interested in. And that's a challenge for me. Always take something that is over the level of your actual playing, and thus improvise. I'm not the guy who sits down and practice stick control for 5 hours. This is, to me, very boring, and I would rather play a song or play for a band and absorb different styles. And it's also I did some fusion stuff and regular rock stuff. And I do so many things in the studio. I do session work a lot, and so I wanted to be flexible, but still have, if it's needed, still be able to understand the song and what the composer wants and put my own style into it if requested.
So with Nader, you were supposed to be reunited with Tom, but he couldn't make it. So, but you're with Dominic and Thor. So how do all of you guys come together to add your own style to Nader's music?
Well, in this case, it's pretty clear because the songs are recorded and there's a song structure, and that's how we play it.
You play the exact same way?
No, I play it differently. I play different patterns, but the structure is the same. So there's like 4 times this riff, then this break, and this is always the same. The way how I play it, that might change a lot, but it's the structures are fixed. So if the structures are fixed, we can just go together and play through the songs. And we rehearsed yesterday for 5 hours.
5 hours.
Just playing through this stuff, and then we, like just an hour ago, we met backstage and just were running acoustically through the material and make sure we're on the same track in terms of where are the stops, where are how many times does this riff occur, and how are you playing this, like details. And since everybody's a pro, I mean, like Thor, for instance, he played for Morbid Angel, and Cyclone, and it's in his case there's not so much you need to explain to a guy like him, because he's common and he's well prepared and just plays the stuff. But there's some details we need to rehearse, and that's it. And then we'll work.
So lately I've been reading up about some issues that arise between Obscura, the labels, some musicians, and also are you guys, I mean specifically you, are you kind of glad to be independent and
It's a funny question. I left the band in 2014 for reasons. I don't know. It's for me. It's kind of in the past. I'm glad. I think it was the right decision to leave, because I'm not a guy who's interested in drama, and people who tend to be dramatic and take it to an extreme level of, I don't know how to put it. I shouldn't say anything about it, to be honest. I'm glad that I'm independent and can do what I want. I can go on tour with Hate Eternal, have good tours. We have good tours so far, and I can write the music I want, because if it's Obscura style music, I can release it as my solo stuff.
Yeah. And
get somebody like Danny to play it, who's playing perfectly. And with Alkaloid, I can just extend everything in terms of style. There's no boundary in that sense. Whatever we want to write, if we feel like, and it wouldn't be a contradiction to the other stuff we're doing. because I'm sure the guys are talented enough to make it work. And so to me, there's no boundaries. And in Obscura, there was always musical boundaries. It's like, oh, I can sing and play that. So, but you said you could sing and play that, and this is always the same thing, and it never changed. It never changed to a bit. And I just felt that like, I feel bad saying that, but that we're not using our potential right. We could have, like, Omnibion was released in 2011, and my solo album got released in 2013. That was my first one. This could have been, yeah. And there are only 6 songs plus a bonus track on it. Imagine this album with 3 other songs, let's say by Chris. Would have been a great Obscura record, but it wasn't. I thought, like, okay, if these songs are in the way, I'm releasing that as my solo work, so we can start anew. But it wasn't working anymore because it was more important who is writing the actual stuff than what is the best idea. And to me, that's the sign of a band being done. And you see the struggle and the drama continues to go on with other people too, and I'm not willing to be part of that anymore, because even though I wrote a big chunk of the music, like way over half of it, and structured most of the songs, I thought, like, I don't want to waste my time anymore. It's 2014, and we should have made another album in the meantime and working on even the next album to that. Why are we wasting our time? And I don't want to waste my time. I did the Alkaloid record, I played with Rehearsal, I played last year in 2015, I was learning almost 100 songs for live and studio session work. So that was my goal, to play with different people. I played with a fusion band called Counterworld Experience, which was awesome, and I played with Dark Fortress, filling in for my friend Sarah, and which is black metal, so it's different too. And
you played on Chris's solo albums as
exactly, and this is 2 of them, and this is power metal, so it's different style again, and I can just, without being a fixed member of Obscura and being held, in this very small circle, I'm now into the open and can do whatever I want. I mean, I could do that before, but the usual thing is, oh, he's with that band, we're not gonna ask him. But why not? I am open to do anything. So, and that has changed for me, because I think in the end, and I'm really about this whole issue, it's starting to bug you, and it's going in a very negative place, and I don't want to be held up with negativity, because there's no place for it. It's like you only have so and so long to live, and there's no point to waste that all the time and energy onto something negative just to be in the focus of attention. I don't care. I mean, I'm a drummer. There's a point why I hide behind all my cymbals. I don't want to be a front man. I don't care. It even feels weird to release an album with my name on it. But then I thought, like, hey, why coming up with a fake band? Because, Alkaloid is a real band. Everybody can contribute. But with my solo stuff, it's just me. If I made a band name, for that, it wouldn't be a band, it would still be just my solo project with a band name on it. I should rather put my name on it because it makes sense, because it's 100% me, so that's that. But it feels weird because I feel better in bands, like being more anonymous rather than in the spotlight, because as a drummer, unless you're my partner, maybe no, just kidding.
I get that too, yeah.
just a joke. No, but or Tommy Lee would be the better example, actually. If you're Tommy Lee, okay, then you're actually a singer. But I'm not Tommy Lee. I feel fine in my role as a drummer. So I don't mind. As long as I can write music, I don't mind.
So in your previous album, some of the songs you had intended for Obscura found their way into it. So is that the case with Crypts of Sleep as well?
Yes, actually there's been some, well, I hate to say it's leftovers. It's not really leftovers, it's some that I put a lot into. And I would say 2 of the songs are Silence Speaks. Was it an Obscura song? The second song.
Silence Speaks.
And the very last song. So those 2 songs were intended to be Obscura songs. and so I guess they sound kind of similar to what we've been doing back then. So, but again, there's no intention for me to think like I have to write a song that sounds like that. It just happens. I think in the future there will be like the opening track. Well, could have been used for Obscura, I guess, but I came up with it last for the album. So it was the last song I wrote because I thought I need a strong opener. I need to come up with something. And then I had an idea. I thought like, okay, I'm gonna record that one too. So yeah, I mean there's some stuff, but to me, the purpose why I write, I just sit down and write music. It just happens, and on the plane on the way to India, which is a longer flight, I was working on stuff. I had my laptop with me and checked some notations and had some ideas and wrote them down. So I think when I fly back, by the time I get home, I will have another song finished. It just happens because I don't choose the time and the place. You just get ideas. So that's that.
Okay, so Hannes, best of luck for your
Yeah.
album, your crowdfunding campaign as well.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot for being
Thank you
here.
very much for the interview. It was really nice.
Yeah, so thank you, Hannes.